hotels, and he's like, I will literally do anything for some cash to get some food. And it started out with just some food, right? So people were like, why don't you get that hula hoop? I'll send you the money for the hula hoop, and I will give you $5 if you walk around with that hula hoop around all day long. Everywhere you go, to the bathroom, all that stuff.
Wow.
So he's walking around
Wow.
with this hula hoop. The guy sends him $20 plus $5, right? And then the next week or so, he's doing the same thing all day now, right? Like, so he's now used any money he acquired in that first transaction to buy like an extra battery pack for his cell phone, all this stuff to be able to stay online, right? And now he's got like 30 followers or 100 followers or some shit like that. And he's like, I'm just looking for a place to stay tonight. I'm hoping I can make enough money to get a hotel room for the night. And so people were like, well, I'll help you get that hotel room, but you got to do this. And it was like, go into a library and start screaming. Go do this, or go, some crazy shit. I'll give you money to do that. So he would do that. And eventually, like, he's like, within 6 hours, I had enough money for a hotel room.
Wow.
Stayed in a hotel room. And he's like, I don't want to leave the hotel. So can I get enough money to, stay for the whole weekend or whatever?
Right.
And he did this all the way up until the point where he got his own house and was making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a day.
Wow.
Yeah, but he said there was like a cost to it because he actually met his wife through this IRL. Like, he became so popular, he was just walking around and somebody was like, hey, I'll give you $30 to go talk to that girl over there. Same example I was giving you. And he went over and talked to this girl, and they started talking. And they're like, now tell her what you do. And he explains it to her. She's like, oh, wow, so I can follow you right now? And she like gets on, and he's like, yeah, these people want me to talk to you. And like, so he starts talking with her, and they end up going out on date. And then he's like, oh my God, somebody just offered $100 for me to kiss you. And she's like, really? $100? He's like, yeah. So he's like, it just ended up being this fucking very intimate thing where all these people are watching, kind of like a Truman Show thing, always having something over your shoulder type of thing. But then what he said was it got too crazy where people got bored with her. And we're like, listen, man, I'll give you $500 to dump her. I'll give you this much. And he's like, I'm not dumping her. Like, I want, and so they're like, all right, well, you just lost my money. So it's like, it's almost like you're a life whore.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was kind of going for, at least. It was like, I think I'm happy it got him to a point where he had a roof over his head. He had food. And now he can make his own.
Oh, he's still doing it. You could go watch him now.
Oh, seriously?
He's still doing it. Yeah, dude.
What is his name?
I'm fucking blanking on it. I'll have to go back and
look. Well, you can send me the link, and I can just read into it.
And you can listen to the on the media. But yeah, he's still doing it as like as his job. It's an IRL. So like, man, it's fucking crazy to listen to, and like, obviously he only does the ones that he wants now, but it's kind of the same thing with like the people playing video games, because you can they're like, hey, give me $20 and you can play 5 rounds with me. So they're kind of like a life whore too, like a friend whore, I guess. I don't know. Like, you can play. He's like, oh, I'll teach you how to play, and we'll get you better or whatever.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some valid points there, because I know obviously they have to keep playing in order to kind of stay at that level that they are at, you know what I mean? Because they do change things around in the game, and there are people every day who are getting really good at it. So, they're kind of, in a way, I don't know. Like, I know, like, if I had $800,000, I would walk away right then and there. You know what I mean? I wouldn't keep going with it and getting paid to do it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a point of I'm content. I don't need anything else.
I don't know, man. $800,000 doesn't get you too far. I mean, if you were to stick in and lived very modestly for the rest of your life, not doing anything that costs money or anything like that, like, it wouldn't last you very long. I think it would probably last you maybe until you're like 40. But again, it's like you got to live conservatively, like, as far as that goes, So I think he enjoys it though too. I think that's the other thing. You have to be able to enjoy it or whatever, and put up with like the people that are going to be crazy assholes anyway.
Right.
Oh, so it's on Twitch IRL. Yeah.
Okay.
VP Gloves. Oh, his name's VP Gloves, a homeless Twitch streamer on the murky ethics of Twitch IRL section. Listen, so yeah, I'll have to send you that.
Yeah, I'd like to give it a read.
Yeah, no, it's a good podcast. They do nice, informative type of stuff for everybody, and you know, it's not like the regular, what's it called? Fucking news stories. You know, they kind of do their own thing and they break it down. They don't, fucking. They obviously lean a little more left, but they don't let the left get away with a lot of stuff. Like they'll call them out on their BS if they have to. I mean, when shit happens, you know. So it does a good job. It's an informative podcast, but I'll send you that link.
Awesome. I was going to ask you something, kind of segueing on subjects here. I heard that David and Dan, the writers for Game of Thrones, they're handed the opportunity to create a Star Wars story.
Yes, I saw that.
Move forward with the ball on that. What are your thoughts?
So I got mixed feelings about it because, like, obviously, like Star Wars is in control by Disney. Yeah, they're in control. Disney's in control. I feel like because it's a Star Wars thing, they are going to be limited with what they. Not that they're bad writers or anything like that, but they're going to be limited to how, like, their creativity is going to be limited. And these are creative people, and when you limit creativity, you get a lackluster of like if you present an idea to somebody and say, hey, I really want to do this, and you have this certain idea, and then that thing picks it apart every single time you bring it to them, and it's like you start to lose a little bit of that oomph of, no, this is how I want to take it. But I mean, I'm speaking from not having any professional writing career at all anyway, but I would almost rather have somebody who's like brand new, I guess, to writing it, and then kind of give them, because, like, I mean, I don't know what these guys worked on before Game of Thrones, but they're just finishing up a 7-season long series that's so in depth and so requires so much, you know, like time and focus and investment into these characters and everything that, like, I think maybe it might be good if they do like smaller projects. Whereas I see like the Star Wars thing going for potentially a long time. I mean, Star Wars fans are going to watch it no matter what, even if it sucks. I mean, you saw that with The Last Jedi, but like, at least in my opinion, it sucked. But like, yeah, like the Star Wars fans are going to see it, but like, don't kill yourself over it, you know, like I feel like, I mean, maybe they want to, I don't know, I'm speaking for them, like I know these fucking guys, but it's you know, it could be good, it could be bad. I'm not sitting there being like, oh, it's them, they did such a great job on Game of Thrones, they're gonna be able to do such an awesome job with Star Wars. I think the stories are gonna hit there, whether or not they have the chops to deal with the amount of scrutiny that Disney puts on its writers with the rewrites, and you can't do this, and this is this, and you better play ball, and like all that stuff. Like, that's where I think I see things getting murky, and you know, who knows? We'll see, though. I mean, so far the project hasn't been scrapped like some of the other things that in the Star Wars universe that has, like the Solo sequels, or the Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie or anything like that. And, you know, Disney the other day just came out and said, we are slowing down on the Star Wars stuff, like cinematic universe, as far as that goes. You know, and I think that's due to the outcry of mostly babies. I will say that most Star Wars fans are fucking babies when it comes to certain things. They either bitch too much or don't bitch about, in my idea, of the right things, you know? Like have you followed anything on the Star Wars controversies or anything like that?
I mean, to my extent, just reading reviews based on movie releases, and people will say, you know, I don't think this is a really good direction they're taking the story. I think it's lost its its honesty, or it's lost its focus,
right.
or it's kind of like self-defeating because it's like this is not really adding to what Star Wars is about, you know.
Right.
And I think my thing is anything can be done well if it's set up properly. You know what I mean? I think I don't really remember how long that movie was, but it was well set up. You know what I mean?
It was 2 hours. Yeah, it was about a 2-hour film. Yeah.
You know, we went from about a kid who doesn't have resources wanting to do things, and then how he was presented the opportunity to acquire those resources. And then once he learns of all this information, his position changes to, wait, it's not about me just being a pilot. It's about me, like, there's like a greater cause. You know, I now have purpose. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To be a part of something bigger than myself. And now I feel like the new Star Wars movies, it kind of did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like they could have told it from another side. I mean, they wanted to kind of still grow off of this family that had existed from the old stories. But I think
it's to finish up their saga, like they're, you know, because the Skywalker saga ranges from episode 1 to episode 6, and it was originally supposed to go to episode 9, but not everybody was on board to return, you know, and George Lucas hit so much of a lull with fans with the prequels that he just didn't want to do it anymore. He felt it was, you know, and you could see he was getting burnt out a little bit on the whole thing anyway. But sorry, Chewie's leaning on the pillows. Hold on.
No worries.
But yeah, no, I mean it was supposed to be a Skywalker saga, and I think what they ended up doing, and I really liked it. I really liked The Force Awakens. I liked how it was set up. I liked all the different lore that was presented within itself. There was a lot of mystery, kind of like A New Hope. I mean, when you watch A New Hope, you get little glimpse into what a bigger story could be, and nothing was spoiled and none of that stuff. But like, then you get into, so as you know, the success of a movie depends on a lot of different factors. Depends on the actors, depends on the director, the writers. But then those are the ones that are like kind of at the gates of the full frontal attacks when people are upset. Nobody ever fucking, I mean, if at all, they mention the producers or the financial backers of the film, or like the studio, or like what were the studio notes and stuff like that. Like for the longest time I held out that Rian Johnson was in my perspective, a good writer and director, and that the studio, Disney in this case, and not that the blame fully falls on the studio, because the studio is like, yeah, make us as much money as you can, but those studio notes really fuck things over. So I'm like thinking that he just got noted down, and this is wrong, and you need to change this, like, and it's all like stunting his creative process. And so I held out hope, and then when The Last Jedi got released on DVD, and it had like the director and the Jedi, the documentary of the making of the film, and you find out that this fucker spent 3 days in Ireland on this island where they could only shoot for 3 days. He spent those 3 days fucking shooting the sea cow for one scene of a milking scene that had nothing to do with what the fuck was going on with the movie. So like there were certain things where I was like, okay, now it's just this part where, you know, and it just, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and fans often, when they're passionate about something, attack the wrong thing. So like what I meant by the Star Wars controversy, when Rey came out, everybody was all up in arms about how she was a Mary Sue. She had all these force powers. She didn't have to struggle. She didn't, whatever. Dumb fucks. She was marooned on a planet as a baby, left in the caretaker of a guy who makes people scavenge for parts for food. And that's what you get from the first like scene with that. Like she gets a portion depending on what type of parts she brings in, and then she'll either get a quarter portion or a half a portion depending on those parts. She fucking lives in a downed AT-AT. Like what the fuck? Of course she's going to have struggle. Of course she's going to have to fight people.